1971, the world's first refuge opened in Chiswick.
They thought Diana's legacy was untouchable. Untouchable. The fairy tale princess turned people's princess, who even in death had the power to outshine every royal in the room. They thought her story would live forever in the halls of the palace and the hearts of the people. But then, just when the world least expected it, one shocking discovery inside a royal gallery flipped everything upside down. Because overnight, an exhibit meant to honor Diana vanished without a trace. The whispers began immediately. Someone, somewhere, had decided her memory didn't deserve the spotlight anymore. Someone was working, secretly and deliberately, to erase her name from history itself. And when the truth clawed its way to the surface, it didn't just cause murmurs. No. This time, it shook the monarchy to its very core. The air inside the East Wing had been electric that morning. Staff rushed through those long, glossy corridors, carrying bouquets of flowers, polishing glass, adjusting velvet ropes. This was supposed to be a glorious unveiling of the new Royal Legacy Gallery, a collection showcasing the icons who shaped the modern monarchy. And of course, the section everyone had been waiting for, the beating heart of the exhibit, was dedicated to Diana. Her portraits, her handwritten letters, her gowns that had once stunned the world. This wasn't just an exhibit, this was Diana's eternal spotlight. But when the sun rose that morning, something felt wrong. Floral arrangements sat waiting for her section, but the walls where Diana's portraits should have glowed under the lights? Empty. Cold silk wallpaper. No photographs. No artifacts. Just silence where her laughter once echoed. The glass cases meant to hold her handwritten speeches and her iconic dresses. Bare. Hollow. Like they had been stripped clean in the dead of night. By mid-morning, the secret was out among palace staff. Diana's section had been removed. Quiet orders from an unknown senior aide said the change was in the monarchy's best interest. The curators were devastated. They had poured months of work into choosing and protecting Diana's legacy. Now, all their efforts had been shoved into hidden storage like it meant nothing. And then, Catherine arrived. Kate, the woman who has always carried Diana's shadow with grace, entered in a soft cream dress, her smile radiant. She was there to take a private walk before the crowds and cameras, but the second she stepped into what should have been Diana's section, her smile vanished. The room was soulless, empty. She pulled out her phone, snapping discreet photos of the barren walls. She knew instantly, this wasn't some rearrangement. This was intentional, calculated. Someone was trying to erase Diana, and the whispers grew louder. Charity representatives who had worked side by side with Diana stood in shock. One elderly friend of hers froze at the doorway, his face pale, before quietly walking away in grief. The press, kept at a distance, could sense the tension but were fed nothing but empty smiles. Behind the scenes, the truth slipped out. A young curator confessed she had seen men in dark suits moving Diana's belongings into sealed crates in the early hours. No markings, no labels, just orders to deliver them to an undisclosed storage facility. Deliberate, secretive, dangerous. The unveiling was supposed to be a celebration of the monarchy's past and future. Instead, it left a scar. What people remembered wasn't what they saw on the walls, it was what was missing. For Catherine, the absence wasn't an accident, it was a warning. Kate had been looking forward to this unveiling for weeks. For her, the gallery wasn't just about history, it was about connection. A way to show the people that Diana's memory still lived in the bloodline, in William, in their children. She even dressed in a soft blue outfit that morning, a subtle tribute to Diana. She walked those palace corridors with hope in her step. Staff bowed politely, but some avoided her eyes, nervous, uneasy. And then, the moment came. She stepped inside Diana's gallery. The lights were perfectly placed, warm and golden, ready to shine on her late mother-in-law's legacy. But instead, all she saw were bare gold mounts on the walls, empty cases, missing plaques. It was like someone had stolen Diana overnight. Kate walked along slowly, her fingers brushing the walls where Diana's portrait once hung. She remembered that particular photograph, a candid moment of Diana laughing with a sick child in a hospital. Now it was gone, erased. Her heart sank. This wasn't a careless mistake. It was a purge. A deliberate attempt to scrub Diana from memory. Kate pulled out her phone again, quietly snapping photos of every empty mount, every stripped case. She didn't know why, not yet, but she knew these photos would be her proof. Outside the gallery, aides whispered and shuffled past, refusing to look inside. Catherine stood frozen in the center of that hollow room, and she thought of William, of their children, who deserved to see their grandmother remembered, of the public, who adored Diana. Deep down, Kate knew this was only the beginning of something much darker. 2 days later, Catherine couldn't shake it. That image of the bare gallery haunted her like a wound that wouldn't close. Finally, she told William everything. He listened, jaw tight, his face darkening with every word. And just as the anger began to boil, a secret message arrived. It was from a palace archivist, a man who had protected royal history for decades. He begged for a private meeting. That evening, tucked inside a dusty West Wing study, the archivist revealed the truth. His hands trembled as he spoke, his eyes darting as though the walls had ears. Weeks before the gallery opening, he had been ordered, verbally, secretly, to reallocate Diana's artifacts. When he asked what that meant, the instructions were chilling. Remove them from public view. Not just from the gallery, but from archives, charity records, even ceremonies. And the order? It came from someone close to the Queen Consort, Camilla. The archivist slid photocopies across the table, inventory lists, priceless items crossed out in red ink. At the bottom of each page, a handwritten signature, not Camilla's, but that of her most trusted aide. Kate's breath caught as she scanned the pages. These weren't small trinkets. These were Diana's dresses, her photographs, her letters, pieces of her very soul. The archivist's voice cracked as he whispered, "I have safeguarded this family's history for over 20 years. But this isn't preservation. This is erasure." William and Catherine exchanged a glance. The battle lines were drawn. This wasn't gossip anymore. This was war. William knew he needed proof beyond one gallery. So he began digging, quietly, discreetly. He reached out to organizers of the charities Diana had founded. And what he found made his blood run cold. Over the past 2 years, Diana's name had been removed from awards she had created. The Princess Diana Humanitarian Award, renamed. Now it was just the Royal Humanitarian Award. He checked transcripts of royal speeches, every reference to Diana in early drafts, gone from the final delivery, replaced with vague phrases like, "those who came before us." And then came the documentary, a polished film celebrating 50 years of royal service. William had been promised a feature on Diana's landmine activism, her AIDS charity work. But when he watched the final cut, his stomach twisted. Diana was gone, erased. Instead, carefully edited clips of Camilla appeared, attending charity events, shaking hands, mimicking Diana's iconic settings. It wasn't sloppy editing, it was surgical, a swap. William sat back, horrified. This wasn't oversight. This was an operation, a calculated attempt to rewrite history. That night, he shared everything with Catherine, her face hardened, her voice firm. If they can rewrite the past, they can rewrite the future. We cannot let that happen. For William, the line was crossed. Diana wasn't just being forgotten, she was being replaced. The Royal Lancaster Ballroom glittered with chandeliers, champagne, and cameras. The annual Children's Hearts Gala, a jewel of the royal calendar, was in full swing. Celebrities, diplomats, and billionaires gathered under golden lights. Camilla swept in with Charles, dressed in deep emerald silk, her diamond necklace flashing like a shield. The cameras loved her, or at least she thought they did. William and Catherine followed, elegant and radiant, drawing waves of applause. But this night, William wasn't here just to smile politely. He was ready to strike back. When his turn came to speak, he walked onto the stage, his written speech tucked away in his jacket. He didn't need it. He was going to speak from his heart. "This charity," he began, voice steady but heavy with emotion, "was built on the compassion, the courage, and the vision of my mother, Diana, Princess of Wales." The words hit the crowd like a thunderclap. Applause erupted. Some guests stood on their feet, clapping furiously, eyes wet with tears. Catherine's face glowed with pride. Across the room, Camilla's smile cracked. Cameras caught the subtle twitch of her jaw before she forced her lips back into a mask. William continued, his voice rising as he painted memories of Diana taking him to hospitals and shelters, teaching him that titles meant nothing if they weren't used to lift others. The applause was deafening. Diana's ghost filled the room. Camilla clapped stiffly, her eyes fixed coldly on William. And later, in a quiet corner, her fury spilled out. Guests overheard her hiss to an aide. "Her ghost still runs this family. No matter what we do, she is always here. This has to change. It cannot go on like this." The whispers spread like wildfire. Camilla hadn't just been exposed. She had admitted the truth out loud. She wanted Diana gone. Back at Clarence's house, Charles sat in his private study when an unmarked envelope was delivered, by hand, directly to him. Inside, a note explained that among old files, a forgotten letter had surfaced, written by Diana. His hands shook as he unfolded it. The ink was faded, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Diana's elegant script bled with urgency. "My place in the story may one day be stolen," she wrote, "but I trust the truth will outlive any attempt to bury it. My children will know who I was, and the world will remember, because love leaves a trace no hand can erase." Charles read it twice, his throat tightening. Suddenly, the missing gallery, the stripped speeches, the whispers of erasure, they weren't just mistakes. They were exactly what Diana had feared. And now, her warning had come true. The public wasn't blind. It began with a single post on a royal forum. Someone had spotted Diana's empty gallery space. Photos spread online, hashtags surged. # Diana forever. # hands off Diana. Within days, headlines screamed, "Is Diana being erased?" Morning shows brought in her charity friends, who wept on air, recalling her kindness. Vigils bloomed outside Kensington Palace. Candles, flowers, handwritten letters piled against the gates just like 1997 all over again. Across the UK, Canada, Australia, Europe, crowds gathered, chanting Diana's name. Social media exploded with personal stories from people who had met her or simply been inspired by her courage. The palace mailroom drowned in thousands of letters, most addressed directly to Charles, William, and Catherine. Many begged, "Do not let her be forgotten." It was impossible to ignore. The monarchy itself was being accused of betraying the people. And at the center of it all, the woman who had once stolen Diana's husband was now accused of trying to steal her very memory. Charles couldn't ignore it any longer. He summoned Camilla to a private stateroom, the fire crackling as he laid out the evidence, the archivist's testimony, William's findings, and Diana's own letter. "Explain this," he demanded. Camilla's mask slipped. "We cannot live forever in her shadow," she insisted. Charles's voice cut like steel. "That shadow is the reason people still believe in us. You cannot erase love, and you cannot erase her." Silence fell, heavy and final. Then Charles ended it with 4 words. "This ends now." That night, a black car slipped out of the palace. Camilla was gone. No farewell, no statement, just silence. Inside, Charles moved fast. Diana's gallery was restored, bigger, brighter, unforgettable. Above the entrance, her name gleamed in gold, Princess Diana. At the reopening, crowds wept as Charles declared, "Diana changed not only the monarchy, but the hearts of the people. Her compassion and courage will remain here, for all time." The applause shook the hall, but the absence of Camilla spoke louder than words. They tried to erase Diana. Instead, her legacy returned stronger, untouchable. Her name in gold wasn't just a tribute, it was defiance, a promise. History belongs to the people who refuse to forget. And in that battle, Diana won.